Today I am answering your Twitter questions. However, I do not want to edit, so the only cuts you're going to see is the silences that my program automatically detects, and that way I don't need to edit, because this is going to be a long one. There's over 100 questions, so I really can't be arsed. And of course, if you want to take part in Q&As or just ask me questions in general or just follow along, go to my Twitter, @MaximSolemn, and follow me. Why are you not doing that? So, Vanguard players Q&A time. I ask questions and I answer in a video. Not I ask, just ask questions and I answer in a video. Can be VG related, but also not VG related. So first of all, we have Julian Orchard here with my boiler is 4 to 5 years old and is kinda on the fritz. Should I call someone out to fix it, or would you just replace the entire thing at this point? Not sure what's more cost effective. Well, Julian, if you don't want to die from a boiler, exploding, I think maybe having it fixed is probably good. 4 to 5 years should be actually fine. You don't have to replace it, I think. I'm not a plumber or whoever takes care of boilers, so probably get it fixed just in case you don't want explosions. You can't play Vanguard after exploding, Next we have AK right here. Hey Solemn, know any beginner decks for getting into Granblue Premium? So Granblue Premium is really cool because you have so many options and so many lines and so forth. I think the easiest thing to do is to just grab your V deck, like Nitros, Beatrice, whatever it is, slap in your G-Zone and start playing. And after a while, you start noticing like, hey, it could get better in certain ways. Oh, there's a Nightstorm, you add that in. Oh, there's Grenache, you add that in. And over time, you then start looking at, for example, my BRO list, my Springfest list, and so forth, and maybe then you get some more ideas. But overall, I think the V deck with just a G-Zone on top is already gonna, teach you certain things about Premium that you didn't know otherwise, and then after that, you can add complexity. Yusha Sama asks, what do you think are some of the most beginner-friendly standard decks? I think standard every deck is beginner-friendly. Maybe Zorga can get a little bit more complex, but overall, I don't think you should be worried about, standard decks being, at least not yet. The format is still relatively young. I wouldn't expect some major crazy stuff. Next, we have Infinite Life asking, I've been asking a lot of people about this question, but still no one tells me the right answer. Is math related to science? No, math is not related to science, actually. Next, we have Dylan. What is your opinion on hand trap-esque units in Vanguard? For example, Dragon Knight Sharaf, Sludge Monster Jawhead, and similar cards in Vanguard. Personally, I think they add more depth and diversity to the game, and would like to see more of these because it adds an extra skill layer. I like certain hand trap-esque mechanics because it does add depth, like you say, but I do think we have to be careful. We don't want to create a Yu-Gi-Oh scenario because I don't think Vanguard allows for Yu-Gi-Oh-esque interaction. I think you will, in your pursuit for interaction, make very uninteractive games. If you think about something like Darkface GB2, the older one that rests when you call, that's fun in games because it's 2 soul, but if you start making units that do that more effectively, more easily, cheaper, you can get very, very frustrating games. Imagine if the Darkface GB2 was 1 soul, for example. You could make a deck, and let's say it doesn't have a GB2 either. You could make a deck that literally just rests anything your opponent calls ever, and you could say, oh, it's interaction, but actually you're making the game very uninteractive. Again, I'm for more depth and interaction with skills like that, but I do think we have to be very careful to not overdo it. Dual Knight, any advice on starting up a local scene? South Africa had its disruptors, I think you mean distributors, stop supply and the game kind of dried up from there, so I'm trying to revive CFE since it's my favorite TCG. It's really hard because I've never revived a local scene before. You should actually ask the person above you right here, Dylan Scoop, and he actually revived a locals by himself. Well, not by himself, of course, the people playing there also help in that way, but he is basically the reason that the Antwerp locals revived. So, you can just ask Dylan right here and he will probably have better answers than I can give you. Next, we have also, what are your thoughts on Kagero in Premium? I haven't been able to properly test it. Kagero is basically an aggro deck. That's it. You ride your Overlord, you're going to do 3 big attacks. You then have some follow-up in your big Legion play, and you have some Denial Griffins. It's solid. It's not tier 1, it's not best deck or anything like that, but you can do well at the tournament with it. Hal asks, how do you feel about the meta of all 3 current formats? Hopes for BCS season. So, I think Premium is in a pretty good state, but I do hope we get some hits on the next ban list. I would like to see Nightmare Doll hit in some way. I would like to see Mega Colony hit in some way. But beyond that, it's pretty solid. I don't have major complaints. V, I feel, is probably in the worst state out of all of them. I had my fun this Springfest with Prism Highlander, but it's still Prism. You're still just playing 2,000 years of Prism, so let's just nuke that deck. And of course, there's some other decks that you might need to hit, and I understand that. But I'm just very, 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 very sick of playing the same thing. It would be cool if that gets dealt with. And finally, for Overdress, I don't know. I kind of wished set 5 was stronger. And maybe it's also because the releases are so slow that I'm also feeling like, maybe the Overdress format has been a little bit too samey now for a little while. But we'll see. You know, if set 6 or whatever the new trial decks bring or something do not spice up the format, then I'll start crying. But for now, I'm still fine with OD. I'm still having fun with Gravidia. But it's also starting to be a little samey at least. Next, personally dislike, it's Chiba Choose saying, personally dislike, having a ban list to spice up the meta in V Premium. With the exception of Hamiel, I feel decks like Luard and Prism and GP were strong but not unfair. I'd rather see new strategies catch up instead. How do you feel ban lists in Vanguard? So for me, it's like it's both, right? Because if you're right, if right now in V you just hit Prism and maybe Gurgit or whatever, you're just playing the next decks in line when we've already played those as well. That is getting old. I do agree, you want something like Clan Collection to actually have a level of power creep so that you are playing new decks after a while. However, I do think ban lists are still necessary sometimes, especially when the set doesn't deliver power. You know, can you imagine playing previous format still now? Oh, no. Let that shit die, in my opinion. So yeah, it's definitely like a push and pull. You want both. You want a little bit of a creep and you want a little bit of a banning to keep things interesting and new. Right now, I do feel V needs a little bit of both, though. Radiant Vanguard, what are your hopes for the upcoming Overdress support waves? I'm not so sure what I actually want. It's really hard for me to predict what I want in Overdress because the things that I like in Overdress so far have been complete left field things. Right? Like, I thought, I'm not having that much fun in Overdress, and then suddenly there's Gravidia. Who the hell would have thought that I would like a Brandgate deck? So, I don't know. I don't know what I want. I'll let them surprise me. Non-Vanguard related question. Do you think I can turn that loss streak around? So, for people lacking context, it's because I've been beating Radiant, otherwise known as Bram, quite a bit. But he did win a game in Yu-Gi-Oh! Against me. Maybe 2? I don't know, but maybe you can. Next, we have Cole Tabor. Do you think the spaced out releases are impacting the player base right now? I'm just not used to having this much of a gap between sets with Card5 Vanguard. I agree. I think it's been a little slow, but I think it's been justified because we didn't have, big events with COVID happening, Now, however, things are opening back up and we're starting to have Springfests, and when there's then still a big gap in releases, and those releases aren't necessarily powerful enough, that does get a little samey, like we've been talking about so far. So yeah, I think it might impact the player base, but I also believe, like, if I'm looking at what we're getting in fall, that's probably going to be fine. It's, I think, a COVID-related thing that it was like, well, we're not going to release a billion sets while no one can play a tournament anyway. But now it seems like it's going to start catching up again. We have like set 5 just now, maybe not strong enough, but we're getting the festival thingy, we're getting premium collection, then we're getting clan collection, I think in September, and then after that there's even more. So I don't know, I'm feeling pretty hopeful on that part personally. Hannah's Song, is Silverthorns Premium better than Harry Premium? I don't think so. I think both of them are fine, but I think Harry Premium is definitely better. And isn't Tavas Premium a sleeper? I think Tavas Premium is pretty strong. I wouldn't say sleeper, people know that it's pretty solid. People know, what it does and that it has its place. I don't think it's like a sleeper tier 0 deck or something, or tier 1. I think it's really good though. Ali Sales, which V Revenger is better, Raging or Phantom? Raging, easily. I like Mordred Phantom, especially art and so forth, and the new Drag Ruler, I think Raging is just better. Edric Vanguard, Ultima, it not fun, the gameplay is too sick, there is no skill involved, and over trigger nothing save you anymore? I don't know what that means, sorry. Wiser Striker, of all the banned cards throughout the history of Vanguard, which cards would you personally would like to be unbanned? If possible, top 5, if not top 3. So funnily enough, I made a video about what I think could be unbanned, but what I want to be unbanned, actually nothing. Like, there's nothing on there that I miss. I'm personally not very excited about certain cards that are coming back. I just made the video because I thought, well, these wouldn't break the game. If I was to be completely selfish, I would probably want Ellie back because I do like playing Bermuda in Premium. That is not necessarily the best idea. Maybe at 1 it would be fine, but yeah, I don't really have a big top 5 or top 3. I don't don't really miss anything. Selfishly, maybe even Gusty, but I know no one agrees with me. And I also don't find it particularly fun. It would need a bunch of choice restricting. Next, Akira Matu for Vanguard. Do you think they should errata Percy to only work with Liberator's Bluish Flame? Yes, I think so. It would be good so that it can't be used in Gurgit. For Yu-Gi-Oh! Do you think they should add choice restrictions? I think choice restrictions would be pretty cool for Yu-Gi-Oh! Or like reverse choice restrictions, where like you can only play Verte Anaconda if like 50% of your deck is spread up lands or something along those lines. However, their ban list is currently so big that I think they should, you know, also get rid of like half of it to make it less annoying and weird to keep track of. But yeah, I think choice restrictions would be fine. Also, how was your day? It's only 12 right now, so I haven't had much of a day just yet. I woke up at 11 because it's weekend. Next, New Spring. What are the best ways for small Vanguard communities to grow? Again, I don't really know. Like, I guess you start with 2 people and you show like other people in the shop that you're having fun. Not to like go annoy them, of course, but just you play and they go like, huh, what are they doing? What are they playing? That's a new card game, blah, blah, blah. You start talking a little bit like that, be approachable and fun. But overall, again, scroll up. Dylan Schoopen there was actually really good in reviving a community, so he probably knows more than me. Dan Snorlax, the XIV. I've always been interested in how you prep for tournaments and what your thought process is from start to the day of the event. So I actually made a video called Road to Worlds where I show you where I go from having my first top to qualifying for Worlds. And I basically go through the whole thing, like how I would playtest, how I would check out the format, like analyze the format, what's my thinking, everything like that, I go through that. Now, obviously, over the years, I have refined how I do that and what I do because, well, that was a lot of, you know, looking for answers still. I was still relatively new to trying to get good, as they say. So I have refined that, but overall, that video is probably my best video. Even though it's not insane, over-the-top hype or whatever, it just shows you so well how you can prepare for an event, in my opinion. So that video. Whenever someone asks me what's the best video, that one. And how to prep for tournaments, that video. My Road to Worlds video. Now that with Gold Paladin release, new Liberator and Unban of Gurgit, will it still better running Gurgit? I don't know. Dragnoa Shadow, what's the worst old school format for Vanguard and why? Probably the 7 Seas Rush format or the Ripple one. I can imagine it's pretty annoying. Dave Vecht, if you have to associate each clan to a specific player, who will you choose and why? It can be for various reasons like reputation, skill, knowledge tops. Alright, Dave, this is a really tough one because there's so many clans and so many good players. Like, I would have to make a separate video for this. I'm sure I can fill 20 minutes with just every single clan and every player I associate it with. Like, off the top of my head, you would have Pale Moon would probably be Derek Dow because of all his tops and being known for that. Gear Chronicle would be like a 3-way split between Dave, Eric, Insider, and Jay for very different reasons. Like Dave obviously loving the clan, maxing it out, crazy with the most expensive Chronojet deck ever. Insider for always fangirling over it. Jay for dominating all of G with it. You know, there's so many little things. God, I could go on forever and ever and ever. It might actually have to be like a separate video. Good idea. I had this plan of uploading every day from now on, not on just this channel, but between the Solemn Yu-Gi-Oh channel and the Solemn Vanguard channel. So every single day I'm uploading now on one of them. Doesn't matter which one, but on one of them there has to be a video every day. This might be a pretty good way for me to actually have one more Vanguard video. So good idea. Next we have Choo Choo. Can ride deck cards be sent to the hand? No. This happened in Springfest. I'll tell you our outcome after you answer. No, you cannot ride deck to hand. You need to ride it. Card Sodium Cyanide. Which clans, nations in each Vanguard format you think need help the most? Oh, that's hard. I think in Overdress there isn't any bad nation. Like Dragon Empire has Bafsagra and Nirvana that are pretty solid. Stoichea has Magnolia. Brandgate has Gravidia and Prison. Dark States has Brews and Barrow. Keter has Bastion. But I suppose if you want to have 2 good decks for each nation, then Stoichea and Keter need the most help. Then in V, I think a bunch of clans need help. I can't even list them all. In Premium, I think it's probably Neo Nectar. Because Mura, people cry about Mura, but Shirayuki is an actual real deck. Whereas I don't think Neo currently has any real deck going for it. And then Link Joker probably as well. Though I think Link Joker people are sleeping on. There's there's quite a few solid things you can do there as well. I think it's really just Neo Nectar that desperately needs help in Premium. But yeah, so nation-wise, I don't think any. V, a bunch. And then Premium, probably Neo Nectar. Ace of Vanguard. Have you touched or thought about touching the other Bushiroad trading card games? I have played Dragoborn for one whole tournament. But that wasn't, that wasn't really a big thing. Beyond that, I'm just not a big hard game player when it comes to like try-harding many. Like the only thing I'll try hard is like Vanguard, and now I'm kind of try-harding Yu-Gi-Oh, but I'm not anywhere near there yet. So I don't know. I don't have time for even more games than that. Like I have an EDH deck that I almost never touch anymore. I have Hearthstone as well. Weiss just doesn't feel for me. Shadowverse seems cute, but again, it's not. I don't know. It's hard. I don't think so, at least right now. Next, we have some Chad. Would you ask Navigator to mill your life expectancy down by 100? If so, is it because NN has been dog water in Premium? I don't know what that means. Ban Navigator, I guess. Pedro will give the new One Piece TCG a try. No, I'm not. I think there's way too many TCGs right now releasing of the TCG hype from the 2020 and 2021 kinda, and I think it's gonna dilute. I think there's gonna be a lot of dead TCGs very, very soon. Kendo Matsuda, how does it feel to top a lot for this year's BSF? Pretty good. It's been fun. 12HL, if you were to hit your own cards like Granblue, what cards would you hit? So whenever I see people talking about Granblue hits, I always cringe because people have no idea what to hit. Like they either try to murder the clan or make it boring and one-dimensional. And I think like if you truly fear Granblue, and that assumes that you're hitting like a lot of other clans first, like Nightmare Doll, Mega Colony, and certain premium collection things as well, which will outshine Granblue, by the way. After you hit all those, and then there's a few more secret little things I'm thinking of. After you hit all those, and then Granblue becomes first in line, and you really want that hit, I think the best hit would be Skull Dragon 2-1. Because here's the thing, people will say like, oh, Beatrice is the issue, but Beatrice makes a lot of really cool lines of play without by herself breaking anything. People say, oh, ban Greedshade, but Greedshade by itself does cool little things, to add to your hand without doing anything game-breaking by itself. Skull Dragon, however, is the way it wins the game. Now, some people will then go all the way and say, oh, ban Skull Dragon, but then Granblue does nothing anymore. Like, there is no output. You're drawing cards and living without winning. So, by limiting Skull Dragon to 1, you're making it so your bad bounty turn goes from 6 Skull Dragons in its absolute form to 3 Skull Dragons in its absolute form. And that is real easy to guard. It also makes it so sometimes you'll go like, well, I guess Obadiah or Bartholomew are gonna be the correct move here because it's literally gonna be higher output for the amount of investment compared to bad bounty. So you're really like decreasing the power ceiling of the deck a lot by putting Skull Dragon to 1. But again, I'm not saying that is a requirement now if you're then not gonna murder like 5 or 6 other decks. So, but once you do that, once you murder 5, 6, maybe 7 either, even other decks, and then you think, oh, now Granblue needs to be on the chopping block, I think Skull Dragon to 1 is the correct hit, even though it'll be painful. But at least you're not making the deck boring as fuck. Like the people saying, oh, you should ban Skull Dragon or ban Beatrice or ban Greedshade, that's just dumb. You're just gonna make a lame deck that's still gonna try to OTK you in a lame way. It'll just be more brain dead. I don't know why you would want to do that. Scully Boy to 1 if you murder 7 other decks, but I don't think it's necessary right now. Next, Astral Susano. What decks did you enjoy homebrewing the most in your Vanguard career? It would have to be my BSFO and my BRO Granblue decks, because seriously, I thought about buying another copy of that deck and then frame it. That's how beautiful I thought those lists looked. It's also really exciting how those then ended up defining the clan for the format moving forward. Like the second my lists dropped of those, so many people started either copying the entire list or like taking the list and changing out a few cards, really showing like major impact in certain choices that I brought there. And that's just like, the best compliment ever. So I really like those. Boy, I'm excited. I love those more than anything else. I've topped now quite a few times in my Vanguard career, let's say, but my Granblue tops always feel the best, at least when I did like something cool and innovative, let's say. Next, we have Sushi Slayer 69. Do you think Katire should be banned even in IRL events? There's an argument there. I do think that the biggest issue with it is the time issue in online events. Like BRO was, just a little taste because not that many people either played the deck or knew about the deck well enough. I think if we would have another online event, more people would play it, and then we would have even more time issues because of new cards and new interactions people are figuring out. And so that is like the bigger issue. I think as a start, you should make it so Qatar cannot be played in online events just because the time issue is major. And then after that, we'll see if it's in real life events a problem as well, but I don't think so. I don't know. We'll see what the new sets do as well, I guess. But the online events is the biggest priority in my opinion. For competitive tournaments, sorry, Jamie, for competitive tournaments, do you have a preference for in-person or virtual or a mix? Why? In-person wins every time. Virtual is awful. I'm always like extra afraid that my opponent might be cheating. I need to like make sure that my internet doesn't randomly die, and that just happens to anyone, right? And then you have like, it's just annoying. Like, I don't like virtual tournaments. The only reason I did play in them was because the clout is important. Like being able to play in anything at least, first of all, but then also just, having more tops on your resume and going, look, I topped a big event, blah, blah, blah. It also, by the way, is really cool because when I often see this like that people from NA talk shit on like EU events, and then people from EU might talk shit on NA, and people from Asia might talk shit on the West, and people from the West might talk shit. It's a lot of shit talking. People always think that wherever they play is the hardest place ever, and they think everyone else in the world is free. That's like the default everyone seems to think. And so the fact that we had all of the locations put together so that way you could no longer cry like that. Like, for example, if you want to talk shit and say like, oh, Solemn, yeah, but topping in Europe is easier. But then I get all my tops in NA, BRO, and BSFO. That's like, guess not. So for that reason, I thought that was pretty funny. So that now if people try to talk shit, it's like, well, try and argue there, right? But beyond that, I'm not a fan of virtual tournaments. It's just not the same vibe. Meeting people, hanging with friends, and so forth. That's, in the end, also a really big part of it. And so, yeah, remote is not even close to real life. Next, we have Logan. Do you think non-12 crit Overlord fronts or stands can work in premium? I don't think so. I think Overlord is just an aggro deck that needs to crit sack a little bit, and your crits are very important for that. Next we have Lim. When can you update a new premium Aquaforce deck? It's been quite some time since the last Aquaforce video we've uploaded. It's just because I haven't really been playing Aquaforce in premium. Like, I've complained about this a lot in V. Bushiroad really gutted Aquaforce in like the first years, in my opinion. They made them very linear and boring. It's only with Tavas that they started having some cool plays again, in my opinion. And so, now I might give it a shot, but until I actually play Premium Aquaforce again, I don't feel like I can do a proper deck profile for it. Faisal, what are your hopes for standard set 6? I don't really have major hopes. I just think it should power creep more than set 5 did. Farad CFV, top 3 songs on your playlist right now. Damn, that's hard. I should actually check my phone for that because I have no clue. It's always like this random... Okay, this is funny. So I have a Florida Low that I recently added again, even though I always listen to metal, like those random 2000s vibe are just cool. And then I have Ice 9 Kills right here. I have Hip to Be Scared, Ice 9 Kills Stabbing in the Dark, and then Touch Off by Overworld. So that's very different, right? We have metal from Ice 9 Kills, we have like this J-rock thing with Overworld, and then we have a low Florida. So very, very different vibe. Then we have Dragblaster Luard. Any tips for beating Order Colony using Granblue? Honestly, I couldn't give you like a blanket statement here because it's very, very dependent on what happens in the game. Order Colony versus Granblue is a very, very complex matchup because you're obviously like punching up. Like, that deck should beat you every time, but there's a lot of little things you can optimize to give yourself better odds, but it would have to be in a different video entirely. I might actually make that after Springfest. Stoikea Admiral Hitian. How would you feel if we got clan-based orders in V Clan Collection 7 and 8? That would be pretty cool. I do think that it's also slightly dangerous because you might have it to where the clan-based order of one clan is so much better than another that now you're like forced to play that clan just based off an order. But I think it would be really cool. Theodore Lu, is the blaster blade, the sword not a person, an instrument? I don't think so. Considering music was a big part of Royal Paladin's war effort, I guess it might not be that big of a stretch after all. I have no idea. When it comes to lore, I'm a complete noob. I'm a complete scrub, so no idea. Next we have Scribbles. If you could choose one unit that isn't already to be reversed, which unit would you want to see and what would it do? Oh, Nitro's reverse. Easily Nitro reverse. What it would have to do? I don't know. I just think like a god version of Nitro's. Oof, that'd be insane. However, bonus points if it can unlock as well. So like if it was like ride and then on ride it does some type of unlock, but then beyond that it also has cool skills, that would be great. Because this way you want to run it and then you also have an out to Link Joker built into the deck. That would be really cool. Like an in-engine out to Link Joker that you actually want to be played. There we go. Nitros Reverse with in-engine lock with an actual real good skill as well. Dominic, with OD existing for a year now, when do you think we will start seeing more generic staples as right lines become more concrete? I think over the coming year and a half, that should start happening. In addition, do you think this will be harmful, meta or price-wise, as these staples can be used in various locations? I think they should just be printed in the double rare slot. That would probably be fine. I do think Inlet Pulse is a really good example of what could happen, but I also think it's fine if certain cards over time go up and hold their value, because you have to understand, while it is annoying when card games become too expensive, the card game being expensive makes it so stores want to support it and want to hold and sell singles and want to actually have a community. If a store buys Vanguard cases from a distributor and then sells those, and they end up having like 2 cases left, let's say, worth of product, and then all the cards in those boxes are 1 cent because nothing is rare, then that store just wasted $1,500, and then they're never able to recoup that cost, because who the hell buys boxes if all your cards are 1 cent? That feels really bad. When a card game has cards that are all worthless, stores stop supporting the card game. You need expensive cards and cards that hold in order to make the game seem alive. And I know it sucks. I would like all cards to be super affordable and so forth, but that's how card games work. So for that reason, I don't think it would be bad if certain staples, remain somewhat elevated, as long as it's not, ridiculous. Because I do understand it can get ridiculous, but overall OD has been pretty fine in terms of price. I think if you complain about prices in OD, I don't know. I think you were expecting too much of any card game. Unless there's like maybe one card that's like crazy that I can't think of right now, but so far I think the most expensive staple in OD is $20. Like, go play Yu-Gi-Oh for 1 second. Your Forbidden Droplets are going to be 3 times as expensive as that card, and you would have to have 3 copies in every deck. That's just for 3 cards, So like, of course, Yu-Gi-Oh is the worst example when it comes to that, but I do think some cards holding value is very important for your store ecosystem, which is essentially what the game is built on. We can't all just order cards online and then never go to a store and then go to a regionals and that's it. Next we have Kira Apple. Do you think Dragonic Overlord TX should be changed to only be active when your opponent is at grade 3? I'm an Overlord main myself and the rush is one of the best parts of the deck, but 3 Van Swings when your opponent is only at grade 2 feels a little unfair sometimes. I agree, but the issue is that that's all you have going for you. You are an aggro deck true and true. Now, if you're telling me, oh, actually, I want there to be like a really insane stride and just nerf this a little, maybe you could make it so that it only does 2 restands on 3, and as a little sorry, you get like a really solid stride. That could be cool. But I do think right now it's just an aggro deck, and you need to like respect that that's its win con. Lulika, will we have Pokemon crossover with Vanguard? God, I hope not. I'm so sick of crossovers. I don't understand. I do understand. I understand why companies right now do collabs and crossovers all the time. We see Magic the Gathering go crazy with them too. It's trying to get money in a place where you weren't previously getting money as a company, and you're also, expanding potentially to those fan bases. But to me, it destroys your universe, and it also makes it very hard to support in the future. And that way, basically, those decks over time need to die, or they need to become part of your universe so they keep getting support. For that reason, I think for card games specifically, it's actually very, very hard to do crossovers. And I think we've already seen that happen. I think we already saw Token Ranbu go from here's some support and then just die. Same thing with Bang Dream, and I think the same will happen with all collabs ever, unless they enter the universe, which would also break the entire lore for actual lore fans. So I don't know, I'm not a big fan of them at all. Even though I like Pokemon and I like Vanguard, I can like them separate. Scissoring Gwen, is there a clan you wished you liked more but couldn't for some reason? No, not really. I like a lot of clans and I dislike a lot of clans, and that's fine for me. Revolver, how to get a girl. That's really hard. I think you should just have a really cool blinked out Vanguard deck, and then you should go like, hey, look at my cool Vanguard deck with wives, and then the girl will go, wow, that's so based. And then you have a relationship. Rotorix, competitive Vanguard versus competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! Same mindset or a bit different? I think they're similar. I think whenever people are like, oh, this game is harder than this game is harder than this game. Like, competitive card games, a lot of the skills translate well. And now, of course, I'm still relatively new to competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm not going to say I'm some god in there or anything like that, not at all. But a lot of these things translate. There's a reason that pro Yu-Gi-Oh! Players start playing another card game and instantly excel. There's a reason I boot up Hearthstone and instantly hit Legendary. There's a reason that WCC players have like tops in like Weiss, and then they jump to Vanguard and instantly have tops there, and then they jump to Pokemon and instantly have tops there. Like, a lot of skills translate. Now, of course, you still need to learn the game and learn all the ins and outs and the specifics. That takes a little time. But once you know the steps you took to break a format, learn a format, like see who you listen to and who you don't listen to on YouTube and stuff like that, those things start impacting how you do in any card game. But of course, there's still a little bit of a learning curve. And of course, then reaching like the tippity top of that field is still going to be hard. But I'm just saying, like, people are really underestimating how well some of these things translate. Mindset overall is a little bit different, though I do have to say that Yu-Gi-Oh! Formats evolve quicker. Like sometimes when we entered Springfest, for example, we knew, okay, the beginning of the format is going to be like this, and 2 to 3 months from now, the format will be like this, so our deck will look like this in the beginning, and then over the 2 or 3 months, people will have figured things out, and then we have to change our deck to this. Like, that's something we know in Vanguard. In Yu-Gi-Oh! It's like, we're gonna do this, and then next week, people will have figured this out, and then we need to change our deck to this and this and that. So that's a bit of a different thing, but that doesn't have anything to do with like the community being slower or anything like that. It's more so that Yu-Gi-Oh! Has way more events. So where Vanguard might have like 2 Springfests per weekend, and then 3 weekends of nothing, and then another Springfest, and then a weekend of nothing, and then 2 more Springfests, Yu-Gi-Oh! Will have that amount of events in 1 weekend. So your formats just develop really quickly, and then people really quickly need to start reacting to them, and so forth. So that's the biggest difference, I would say. Just the amount of events leads to much quicker solving, and then much quicker counter solving. Slyly Remando, who was the first of doing a Vanguard Market Watch show? I don't know who the first one was. I think Robbie Cole, probably, because he was already doing it for Yu-Gi-Oh! And then just started doing it for Vanguard. I know She-Devil Gaming also has a Market Watch show. I think Team Gradelock also has a Market Watch show. There's a few out there, but I think Robbie Cole is probably the biggest one. Koa Deo, if you got a girlfriend, which deck do you want her to play? I already have a girlfriend. We will be together 7 years really soon, quite a long time. She played Neo Nectar and sometimes my Great Nature deck, but right now she is more into knitting and everything to do with like making fabrics and plushies and so forth. So, you know, we all have our hobbies, that's all cool. But so yeah, I have a girlfriend and she played Neo Nectar. Next we have Mensch with a R. Your hopes for the Hearthstone meta this year. So I'm not really trying to be competitive in Hearthstone right now. To me, when I log on Hearthstone, all I want to do is make like a stupid control shaman pile, have a few games of fun, and then log off again. If I wanted to try hard in Hearthstone, you know, I would just go to the Hearthstone meta thing, check out what's the best deck, see what's up, maybe change 1 or 2 cards, and then, you know, climb with that. But I've only tried that actually once, and then I got bored pretty quickly. Team Echo Chamber, why should Prism be untouched? And then Noman answers, so I don't have to learn a new deck. That's basically the only reason why Prism should be untouched, so that we don't have to test anymore for V. Next we have Epoch Sarin. If you could turn a Yu-Gi-Oh! Archetype into a Vanguard clan nation, what would it be and why? That's really hard. I don't really feel the need, once again, to like put certain cards or lores into other universes. It always feels a little awkward. I'm a fan of zombies, but we already have that in Vanguard. I really like the new punk archetype in Yu-Gi-Oh! So that's like a cyberpunk styled version of certain Japanese dances. You could do something like that, but I don't know. I don't really feel like pushing universes together, if you know what I mean. Gunmetal Gator, have you read Cardfight Vanguard Youthquake at all? I have not. Karan Patel, Start a Fire. Who do you think are the top NA players for Vanguard? And then Noman says, narrow it down to US, because Canada takes 2 or 3 slots instantly. Karan, can we even fill a top 5 with US players? Noman, make it top 8 to really start a fire. Karan, my boy Omaha, gonna bubble out if we do that. France, catch me in 17th. Okay, so this has been a fun thread. God, top NA players, Kevin Cho, Stephen Lee, Nicky Goldman. There's so many, but like the thing is, I think there's also a difference between builders and players. And you can also have both, but that's very rare. Like for example, I think Nicky Goldman is one of the best players, but not builders. And that's no stab or anything. He's probably better than most builders. I think Cho, for example, is in the top percent players and also top percent builders. And that's very, very rare. So I don't know. Yeah, those 3, but there's plenty more. I just don't want to like think about it now and then forget someone and then hurt feelings. And then no one goes, why am I not listed? Ah! So like, I'm gonna call it quits there. I'm, again, not gonna edit, so I don't even want to waste time on thinking about this. Next, we have Kai Can't Play. How balls to the walls do you go with Gravidia World? Very, 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 very. However, I will say for BRO, I went more balls to the walls, because we didn't have the long game that the new Meteors gave us and the Baku Burrito and all of that good stuff. Basically, the new cards made it so we have the 5 Meteor play more often, so we actually have big things to do rather than being pure aggro. So I would mulligan for Persona Ride and also for Pieces in BRO, whereas now I mostly mulligan for just the Persona Ride. The pieces aren't that important anymore. But yeah, still very balls to the walls. PAY Morales, thoughts on meta sheeps versus quality players. I'm not a big fan of like the derogatory meta sheeps thing. Like, a lot of quality players play meta because it's the best pick for a given event. I do think that like the very best players will try and break a meta. So if there's like a deck that hasn't been fully explored yet, they will probably make the solved best list and define the meta that way. But that isn't always possible either. Like, certain formats, I have gone to an event with a deck no one knew about and then done well, or I've gone to an event with a deck people knew about but not that variant and I made that variant and then did well. But there's also been events where it's like, well, I don't have anything to innovate here, so I guess I'll play this thing. A good example was like the Overdress set 1 format for Springfest. I had nothing to innovate. I just grabbed Bastion and sacked a little and hey, there's a top. But again, there's also been other events where I was like, oh, people aren't seeing this. I guess I'll do this and this and this, and that will be a really interesting deck. And then I'll go and do well with that and so forth. So, but there's nothing wrong with just taking the best deck and doing well with it, you know. I do think, again, the highest level of players will sometimes, you know, see the opportunity to break a format, but not every format can be broken. Sometimes best deck is just known. Next, we have Kyle. What's the best thing about metal music? Just the energy, like the really big over the top like vibes and grooves, and I don't know. Like, I don't have any music that I've ever listened to that just gives me as much energy. Of course, I like other things of music. Again, I showed you like my Florida Low song that I have loaded up right now. I listen to like film music as well, but metal is just something else entirely. Roy, what's 2 + 2? 7. Also, what cards would you like to see return in V, or what G Guardian would you like to see come back as a boss monster? Okay, so first, cards to return in V. I would really like a second Nitros. Again, it doesn't have to be the reverse like we mentioned earlier. I just really like Nitros. I'm hoping we get some G retrain soon. I would like to see, you know, some innovative thing, maybe like with a rearguard skill, you know, you have like the Starlight Nitros in G with this fancy RLR. We might get something like that with a really cool attack extension like effect. I don't know, that would be cool. Or what G Guardian would you like to see come back as a boss monster? I don't know. I don't really have big, you know, loves for G Guardians. Usually they're like just shields, and there's some really cool interactions like in Granblue Lily and so forth, but I don't really see the need for boss monsters out of them. I don't know, haven't really given it thought. Deleted unit, what's your favorite clan / nation? My favorite clan is Granblue. Favorite nation would be Stoichea. FL280 2. Have you watched Morbius yet? Trade not. Broomstick. Night Mist in a fist fight. No gloves, no weapons, pure fist. First to KO wins. Do you think you'd take him? I don't know. How tall is Night Mist? Like, I'm 6'2". If I have like the reach advantage, maybe I can take him. If he's like somewhat undead, he might be very brittle as well, though he doesn't look undead. So I don't know. I think it's gonna be down to reach advantage. Luke Henchhold. What's best to grow a local player base? Again, I'm not super great at that. I think Dylan in the thread over there is gonna be your guy for that. Reverse Ace. Is Jay the GOAT and favorite moment of BSF 2022? Jay is definitely the GOAT. Favorite moment? That's a tough one. God, we've had really cool events so far. I think a very exciting one was in Antwerp when we were sitting in front of a team in finals that is actually really known for being like gods in Buddy Fight, and then you know what happened to Buddy Fight, so they moved to Vanguard, and then I was sitting in front of the guy who was going 13-0 or something like that. Basically, the day before, he had gone completely undefeated, and then they had gotten second, and you know, the team hadn't won in finals. And then on that day itself, he had also gone undefeated. He was playing Vanquisher in V. I was playing my, you know, weird Prism Highlander build, and it basically came down to a 1 to pass. And he had only one drive check, so it was really like that one drive check, the very last moment. And I had to bet it that way because I basically looked at my hand and like, okay, I live this turn if this one drive check is not a trigger, that's it. And then he didn't hit it, sadly, and then I won from that. But like that player is first of all so good. He had that completely undefeated streak. Everyone was like watching and looking at this one epic moment. I think it was also like on stream, on different fight streams. So that was like a really hype moment. Not necessarily like the hyper skill moment because again, at that point it was just, you know, do you flip the trigger or not? But in terms of hype, that was really big. Of course, up to that point, you know, skill was involved to get to that point, but you still have to, you know, that's how card games are. But other favorite moments, really, really tough. There's a lot of really cool ones. I would have to give it, you know, some more thought. Hikami, BLM, Sido Hikami. What would you recommend someone to do to get back into Vanguard competitively? Format isn't an issue. They want to play them all. Just play. Like, watch all YouTubers that you think are going to give you some solid insights, build a deck, and just go to events, I guess. I don't know. Again, the Road to Worlds video I made is probably like the best video in my opinion to see how you can elevate your game. You know, no brag intended. I just think that's a very good video for competitive Vanguard if you want to improve. Tired Milk Tea. How long do you think V Premium as a format will last? With the current releasing speed of nostalgic units, they will run out quite soon, I think. After then, the nostalgic marketing will end and sale may dip. So right now, they are starting to grasp at straws. I feel like when it comes to which units they can still retrain, I'm noticing that from the older era, they're taking units no one really cares that much about because, well, they're running out. And then they have to go into Legion, but they've already taken like some Legions like Pinot and so forth. And then they are on to G, and they've already done some G units, but usually they haven't done the secondary boss yet. And at that point, they would run out. Personally, I think that's a good thing. I think a lot of people would like new units in V, actually. I'm not opposed to the idea of just having new cards. I also don't think nostalgia is the way V is selling anymore. Maybe right now with the weaker cards a bit, but I think if they just start generally creeping again and we get some new cards, that wouldn't be bad at all, and I'm pretty sure that'll be fine. Now, I do think V has an issue in the sense that it's relying on 2 sets a year and nothing else, and if that set bombs or is too powerful, you suddenly have like a mess that will only be fixed 6 months later. Also, 3 formats is still too much, and now with big events coming in real life, we are starting to see that very obviously, but that is not V's fault. That is just 3 events is more than 2 weekend days fault. But I definitely don't think running out of nostalgia units will be the way V dies. If anything, it will be not enough support because 6 months, you know, once every 6 months just isn't that cool. Premium at least has Overdress that still sometimes changes things on top of their Premium collection, on top of their V collection. I don't know, it's a weird one. Grilled Cheese. What's a good way to get my friends into Vanguard? For example, which format should I introduce them to? I think Overdress is the easiest way to get people started. Like, again, I'm known for liking Premium a lot, and I also like V sometimes, but it's just that Premium has complexity that you don't instantly maybe want to throw people into because they might just give up. This is like a really big issue in Yu-Gi-Oh! Also, if you try to get someone in Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now, you need to give them an automated simulator like the Duel Links Legacy of the Duelist Evolution thing or a Master Duel, because otherwise the game's just too fucking hard. Like, and Premium can have that a little bit, not nearly as bad as Yu-Gi-Oh! But basically like that floor of complexity is a bit higher. So I think you just start them with Overdress. It's also usually the most played in stores, though I'm starting to notice there's quite some stores where like V plus Premium is the most played, which is also cool to see. Again, you also have that in Magic the Gathering. You know, Standard is technically the main format, but there's stores that just say, oh, we play Modern and EDH. And that's cool in my opinion. That's fine. Every store can have their own little, you know, kind of community and their own little bit of culture. But yeah, Overdress is probably the way to go. And then after that, you can start introducing them to other things. Maybe Premium, maybe V. Mashiro, thoughts if negate hand traps also existed in Vanguard via something similar? Again, I already talked about that in Dylan's question. I do think you have to be careful. Essentially, when you say negate hand trap, I assume you mean in the battle phase, because anything more than that is going to be super fucking annoying. Like in Yu-Gi-Oh! Going, I do something response, I do something response, I do something response is really annoying. There's a lot of moments where someone has to go like, oh no, wait, I have a response. Wait, you did something, judge. Actually, like that's really annoying for the natural flow of a card game. Vanguard is much more well designed from a gameplay perspective, I feel. At least when you go sit down at a table to play a game, not just, you know, hardcore competitive stuff. Reich and TP, should Ride decks exist in Premium and which clans would benefit the most? I think that if you introduce a Ride deck into Premium, it should have vanillas or only Overdress cards. This way, you don't break cards with like every Gold Paladin playing one Bowmains. You don't break the game with like, oh, now the Bermuda deck always has Lizelot or something like that. Just generic stuff, so that way you don't misride, because misriding does suck, and just don't let clans benefit too much. Also, who is best girl right now and why is it Tegria? Best girl is Beatrice. John Go, what do you think will it take for Bushi to make official tournaments to switch back to best of 3? You would have to kill 2 formats, and that way have 2-day events where your top cut and maybe the last part of Swiss is the other day. Is that gonna happen? Absolutely not. And also this would mean that they basically kill VN Premium just so you can play Standard for 2 days, and I would rather off myself. Okay, very dark joke, shouldn't make that, I'm sorry. But just saying, like, no. The only way to do that is axing 2 formats, and we know which ones it would be, and the game would fucking suck ass with only Standard. Standard is cool, you know, again, it's a really easy way to get people in. It's also, you know, the least heavy to think about, so you can just have some little fun and sit down and so forth. But to play Vanguard in only Standard, I would just not play anymore. It's that simple, and that's the only way you'll ever get best of 3. Some people are saying, oh no, ARG used to do it. Yeah, where are they now? You know, like, be realistic for a second. I would love best of 3, but with 3 formats, it's just never, ever, ever, ever gonna happen again. I do think for Worlds, they can afford to do it that way, because you're automatically already segregated in terms of formats, so you can already do a 2-day type of thing, but that then just depends on if they're willing to spend the money to have the venue for 2 days. Flair Sherbet Natsu, being a Yu-Gi guard tuber, what's something Vanguard should learn from Yu-Gi-Oh and vice versa? Oh wow, this is a good question. Anna Akagi, you have a great question. I'm gonna drink my Coke just so I have like enough energy to go through this. First, I will say what Yu-Gi-Oh can learn from Vanguard, and that is that it's not only your competitive tryhards that exist. I know Konami hasn't learned this yet for some reason. It's fucking wild. They think they can make like a casual anime nostalgia bait set once in a while, like Legendary Duelist going, hey, remember Joey Wheeler? Ho ho, buy his cards. And then they dump like those garbage cards on them, make those players go to locals, and they get annihilated because there's no normal, chill little game of Yu-Gi-Oh! That doesn't exist. There's speed duels, but because you have that being like pushed to the side as not real, no one cares. Rush Duel, same thing. Really big issue in my opinion, because you're just making it so, are you gonna spend thousands on cards and travel for events? Are you taking a plane for a YCS? No, then you're not a real player. That is basically what the entire thing is built on right now. And that is an issue because you're not really getting new blood in that easily. Now I know that sucks to hear, but like, if you're not sweating and traveling for Yu-Gi-Oh events, I don't know why you would play Yu-Gi-Oh! It's just not that fun to just casually sit down. You would have to make like friendship rules. You would have to say like, hey bro, can you play, you know, anything but these 100 decks? Then we're gonna have a real fun casual game. That, I don't know. They kind of need an alternate format that isn't marketed towards children, because like Speed Duel and Rush Duel, it's really, I don't know, it's so awkward. It doesn't feel like a standard format, and Yu-Gi-Oh kind of needs that personally if you want to get casuals in. I'm fine, I'm doing fine, you know. I qualified for the European Championship. That's not that hard. It's not the same as, you know, the Vanguard tops or anything like that, but I'm gradually learning, and I'm gonna do a little bit of a try-harding, and that's fine. But if you're not doing that, Yu-Gi-Oh I feel is very, very hostile, and so that's a pretty big thing. I also think for some reason Yu-Gi-Oh has like the biggest amount of toxic people in its community, and I'm not sure why that is. Like, how does that happen? Naturally over time? Like in Vanguard, I think 99% of people are really cool, and there's 1% of assholes. Okay. And then in Yu-Gi-Oh, it's like 90% versus 10%. That's like 10x as much. I don't know how Yu-Gi-Oh did that. I don't know why Yu-Gi-Oh also has like that shit, how do you say it, reputation. Everyone says, oh, Yu-Gi-Oh is so toxic, and you think like, that's a reputation thing. But then you actually start playing, it's like, oh, that's true. How does that happen? I have no idea. But anyway, so that's things Yu-Gi-Oh can learn from Vanguard, or just other card games in general. And overall, better casual access, because if you're tryharding, cool, I'm tryharding a little bit, and then that game gets pretty fun, but if you're not, the game just feels ugh. Now, Vanguard can sometimes have the opposite problem. I think Vanguard overall does a very good job of being casual friendly, but sometimes so much so that they are not completely taking care of the competitive scene quite as much either. Now, that also depends on how big your game is. That also depends on the resources you're given from, from higher up, let's say. But I do think, if Yu-Gi-Oh! And Vanguard could just marry and like Vanguard can have a little bit more sweaty try-hard love and Yu-Gi-Oh! Can have way more casual love, I think both games would, get better off. That's also why I like Premium in Vanguard, because I feel like that's the one place where sweaty tryhards get a little bit more love, maybe, than in the others. But yeah, overall, I like both games for different reasons, but those would be the things they can learn from each other for sure. Oh, also Yu-Gi-Oh! Awful at rarities. Like, I can respect them keeping the same border and so forth, but if you pull a collector rare these days, it's like, you can barely see that that's a high rarity card. Once you sleeve that up, you cannot see, is this rarer than my Ultra? I don't know. Maybe if you hold it in the light, you can see, wow! Whereas Vanguard, you pull an SP, you're like, holy shit, this is a rare special card. There's a different border and a signature and a no text, and oh, now the card comes to life. Whoa! Now it starts kissing you if it's a waifu. Like, Vanguard cards are wow in high rarity. Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards are just the same in high rarity. I don't know why they do that. I think Ghosts and Ultis were cool, but collector rares are just so boring. So that's a little something, I guess. But overall, I like both games. Kubota Kuvolto, will you come to Japan later this year? Yeah, indeed. I really want to come to Japan. I'm hoping that I can qualify for Worlds the coming BCS season, assuming we have a BCS season. That would be absolutely incredible. So that would be then January 2023, I guess. Assuming that they have a BCS where you can qualify World, and that I qualify. TCG Bell, what deck are you most excited to test? Whew, that's hard. I haven't touched Premium Collection cards yet. First of all, it's not out, but I also haven't like theorized. Wow. Theorized? I don't know. I haven't done any theory crafting for that yet because we're still in Springfest, I don't like mixing formats before I am done with the format, So like, I don't want to already be playtesting Premium Collection when that could teach me habits that would be wrong for a non-Premium Collection event. So we have Springfest London coming up, and that won't have Premium Collection, that won't have certain sets, and so I don't want to test for them yet. After Springfest London, I will actually start testing with the new card. Which deck is most improved after Premcall 2022? Again, I haven't tried it, so I'm not sure. 2 crit no pass, Marvel or DC? A Marvel for sure. I mean, if you start counting like the Dark Knight Rises and so forth, and DC might have an edge because that's like, they're overall better films that will age better in my opinion. But right now, like the releases from the past years, Marvel easily. Blank, what would be your Order Colony build with the new Premium Collection and Clan Collection reveals? Again, I haven't tested it yet because we still have Springfest coming up. Bella Drive, 1 Vanguard related and 1 not Vanguard related. What's your most fun deck to play in all 3 formats right now? Granblue Premium, baby, all the time. Also, what's your favorite horror movie? I'm afraid that I don't watch horror movies. I used to say it's like, oh, they're just, the plot isn't deep enough for me, yeah. I'm just so above those plebeian movies, The real truth is that I'm just a little bitch. Curtis B, have you considered coaching on MetaFi like Derek Dow? Oh, it's time for war, baby. No, okay, so I'm not interested in coaching on MetaFi because personally, I feel there's like a conflict of interest. If you're trying to be a hardcore competitive player, then everything you do should be based on you trying to get an edge on the competition to then win major events. But if you're coaching, you're incentivized to help other players get better, for that specific event. And so you're basically incentivized to give them all the spice you've been building, to teach them how to beat you, and thus you're actively making it harder for you to top. Now you could say, oh, but what if you're coaching someone for an event that you're not going to? Well, first of all, are you going to tell like the few customers that you might have going, oh yeah, I'm going to the same event as you, and then you tell them to fuck off? Okay, good luck. But then also, if you're in a team where you're trying to help each other top, you test together, you get better together, together, you give each other like the spies that you found so that they can top there and then they do the same for you and so forth. Now you're actively incentivized to give the spies from your teammates or train opponents that your teammates will have to face. So like there's active anti-incentive there. And so awesome for Derek if he does well with that. I'm not going to take that away from him. But I personally wouldn't want to deal with the anti-incentive. And I do feel that as a YouTuber, you're already, creating anti-incentive. You're technically already making everyone who listens to you better. And that's fine. There's only so much you can do about that. But I do think there's like very active anti-incentive with coaching. Like if I want to qualify Worlds, why would I want to make everyone in the room know what deck I'm playing, how I'm playing it, how to beat it? Because that is essentially what they need to do to qualify Worlds. And so as a teacher, that would be what I have to do to be a not awful teacher. So for that reason, I'm not coaching on Meta5. It would be like asking a CEO of an oil company to become the most, pro-nuclear, pro-climate change lobbyist ever. Like, why the fuck would he do that? You're having incentives that are pointing the wrong way, and it's automatically going to create issues, in my opinion. And by the way, this is not like a stab. Again, I've already spoken about this to Derek. He's spoken about this to me. Like, we're on good terms on that. We both know what we think about that. Shockstar, what would Eugene need in order to compete with the meta decks, and is it something I should hold out hope for? I honestly have no idea, and I don't know if we should hope for it, because I don't know the set 6 is going to support the new trial decks or support everything, in a decent way. Tony, would you ever bring back V/premium unit designs for playmats or create some new ones for newer or returning players? I personally missed out on the cool Luard, Messiah, and Tavos ones. Personally, I've redesigned Zero Damage Gaming. You can check out zerodamagegaming.com right now. Use the code Solemn for a discount. And we're basically doing like a really sick, like cyberpunk Akihabara playmat right now. And I really like that one. So we'll see where that takes us right now. Nikki Goldman, what should I eat today? Ooh, probably some ramen with some sick spices. Chris, will you come visit Japan as soon as it opens up, or are you gonna wait for Worlds, bestie? I would like to wait for Worlds because flying is getting super expensive with all the gas out there. And again, Worlds is like best experience ever. So I'm hoping we get that. But I'm super excited for that. Azim Reverse, will we see a return for the Zero Damage Gaming playmats? Again, we have a new playmat, Cyberpunk Akihabara style. Use the code Solemn for a discount. Outer Orange, what's your favorite video game? That's a tough one. I'm not much of a gamer, but I guess the one that I was hyper addicted to for many years was World of Warcraft. Alex K, why do Herminia units lie about being powerful? I don't know. Probably to hurt you specifically. Wuja Sado, what are your dream reprints and new units for future V-Clan collections or Revival collections? I honestly don't know. I don't really think about reprints these days because I feel like the Revival collection, the last one, did such a good job that like a lot of reprints are taken care of. I suppose some of the strides from like the premium collection 2019 could do with a reprint right now, maybe some from the 2020 even. But for clan collections, I don't know. I guess everyone's thinking about VRs, right? Like they've already reprinted every triple rare and under 1 billion times now. I think some of the VRs are probably due for a reprint soon. Die. If Vanguard were to have a collab set with anything of your choosing, what would you pick and what would you want to be its playstyle? Again, I'm not a huge fan of collabs, so I really can't comment there because there's no collab I'm actually hoping for. Rhino SCE, out of all the right lines that are coming out in set 5, which of them do you feel will be the most viable in a competitive scene? I think Thegria. Like people are saying, oh, set 5 weak, and that's true. Overall, the set is a bit weaker. It has, some of that nostalgia, some cool little utility cards, but like the overall power level does feel weaker. But I do think Thegria is pretty solid. Next, Notorious set. If you go to McDonald's, what are you ordering? Always the same thing. First, I will go to the burgers, and in the burger, I will click on hamburger, but then I will customize it and I will take everything off except for bun, meat, bun. That's all. Because I don't like sauces. I don't like vegetables. Some people will blame autism. That's fine. I really like bun, meat, bun. That's just my thing. I will always then order 2 of them. No sauce whatsoever. I will then go back to the fries, and there I will take a medium fries. And then I will go to the cold drinks and I will take a Sprite. And then depending on how long it has been since I've drank or eaten, the fries will be either medium or large. And the same can actually be said for the Sprite. So it will always be that order. The only time I will deviate is if it has been so long that I've eaten, then I might pick the 3rd burger, but I know that every single time I will have to push to be able to finish that. That's my order every time. Buster Shot, you're cute. Ever think you'll give dudes a chance? Appreciate it, but like I said, I've been together with my girlfriend for almost 7 years now, and I'm also very heterosexual, I'm afraid. Joel Trent, if you had to pick a clan besides Granblue, what would you pick? Well, I play a lot of clans, so that's a tough one. I play Granblue, Great Nature, Dark Irregular, Shadow Paladin, Angel Feather, Aqua Force, any of those. Antonio Trainer, let's fight. I know you're good, but I want to see how good for myself. So this is a bit of a like an assumption people make wrongly when they aren't super like hyper competitive in card games. One card game does not define how good you are. You can play one game perfectly and still lose, and that doesn't mean you're bad or played worse. That's just the variance of card games. But more importantly than that, you can play one card game and make misplays and still be good, because guess what? Shit varies. If I have diarrhea and I need to play a card game, it's gonna be worse than if I didn't have diarrhea. If I'm feeling ill for something else, or I just recovered from COVID, or I just did the sickest gym session, or I'm feeling bad, or I'm tired. Actually, when I'm tired, I play better. That's super weird. But so like whenever shit changes in real life, how you play might also change. If you play on stream, you will play worse, probably. If you're playing in top 8 and it's been a hard day and now maybe stress will get to you more easily. One game does not impact how good you are. The thing that shows how good you are is the consistency of your results overall. The best players isn't the person who now wins one game against, the quote-unquote best player. The best player is the one who goes to events and does well the most consistently. That's the same with poker. You have people in poker who top very consistently. They have high earnings over many events consistently. That doesn't mean the person who got first is the best poker player. He might have just been dealt the best hands. But the poker player who goes entire seasons always being very positive, that's probably the best poker player. It's why they count highest earner poker player and not the guy who got first once. So let's fight. I know you're good, but I want to see how good for myself. The one fight will be meaningless. The way you check how good I am is to go to Hall of Fame, and then we can go to statistics, and we go to Maxim Solemn, and you see this list of tops. That is how you check. Okay, first of all, the only thing here is that you also have to check like when they were. Like if I have a huge list, but it's only 2015, it might not be representative. Maybe I got worse, maybe I stopped playing and so forth. But like results is what matters, is basically what that rant is trying to say. And the one game is meaningless. Day one player, why aren't you playing Weiss Schwarz? It's just not for me, and also it's a time thing. Like I can't play every card game. Juggling between Vanguard and Yu-Gi-Oh is already really, really hard. And also like my business and actual life, that also has like precedent. Commander Finn, what is the best clan and why is it Tachikaze? I guess because dinosaurs? Cardfight Vanguard Malaga, what do you think will be earlier? A new Overtrigger or reprints of those? Probably reprints. I can see that happening pretty soon. I would like though for them to be bad. Next we have Haze. What idea or concept for a ride chain would you like to see happen in standard, and what do you think will Bushiroad do once they run out of cards to retrain in V Premium? So that's two questions. First of all, a ride chain for standard, I don't know. I'm not really missing anything right now. I know some people are waiting for specific things like a D-Police type of ride line for Brandgate. I suppose I'll say that, a D-Police ride line, because I know Chris would be very happy if that happened. Maybe a Neo-Nectar ride line in Stoichea. What do you think will Bushiroad do once they run out of cards to retrain in V Premium? Again, I hope new cards. That would be really cool. Doodle Frank, favorite hand trap? Ooh, personally, Winter Cherries. Winter Cherries is a really cool card. I know usually it sucks, but it's like a dark zombie. The colors are really cool. Probably that one. Echo, when is Large Balls going to back up his threats and fist fight the Vanguard community? I don't know. He's asleep right now. Master of Disagree. Since people are talking about the ban list again, if Granblue were to be hit, what do you feel would be the best restriction? I already talked about this, but again, you need to hit like 7 clans before you hit Granblue, in my opinion. What Vanguard card has the shittiest skill, but you still love it? There's this one Battle Siren in Aqua Force. Battle Siren Janka, I think she's called, and it's funny that she has Jank in her name. Essentially, when that card was revealed, I was like, wow, that is beautiful art. That is so cool. And then I read the skill and it was like, wave something something, do something awful. Card sucked ass, but I really like the art. GJ, what do you think of the trading card meta of card games you play? If unbalanced, should they be balanced? For what reason should they be balanced? That's so like vague. I've already gone over my ban list ideas, so I don't know what to say. I've already gone over my ban list ideas. For Yu-Gi-Oh, I don't think Yu-Gi-Oh will ever be balanced. There's too many cards. It's been 20 years now, and also the whole ban list of Yu-Gi-Oh is built on selling new cards, and the power creep is so harsh because it's also based on selling new cards, and their ban lists are never meant to actually balance the game. So like, I don't think Yu-Gi-Oh can be balanced. They're just not trying to do that. That is not the goal of how they structure their game. Ryan, thoughts on Alastiel as a deck, the art and the playstyle? I have no opinion, I'm afraid. I haven't tried it. Fidel Nugraha, thoughts on side decking in Vanguard? I used to be a big fan of that idea, but I think first of all that means you're at best of 3, and we don't have best of 3, though that would be pretty cool. But I also think it would ruin certain decks specifically, because it's very hard to have hate for every clan, but certain clans have very, very big hate. And also, it would add such defensive creep to the game that I also think the time in the round needs to be increased. Like, think about this. Let's say it's a multi-attack deck you're facing, and they don't have inherent retire, then you might side in Honolly, right? That would make it so they would need way more strides to actually kill you. But you also weakened the power output of your own deck by playing those Honollies, so you will need more strides to kill them. And just like that, suddenly, your rounds are way long. Same thing with like Bikuns and so forth. So for Lorox as well. So for that reason, I think side decking you need best of 3 by default, but you also need way more time. And I do think that would also generate the problem where everything will start going to deck out, which means you would have to start like siding in legions so you can start sending like triggers back. It would be very weird. Maybe interesting to do for maybe one season or so, but again, we don't have best of 3. Also, I don't think side decking would do anything in V or standard at all. There are no defensive cards. There is no specific hate. There is, well, except for those new heals, I guess. Those new heals would be decent side deck cards. Only premium really has sizable amounts of proper hate cards and techs and so forth. You know, techs for like specific matchups. So I don't think it would do much in 2 out of 3 formats. Senpai, what's your favorite moment in the movie White Chicks? I forgot his name, but you have the one super buff African-American actor that's like in love with one of the cops, and then in the car does like the little dance and thing. Fuck, I forgot, but he's like super wholesome. So that would probably be my favorite moment, though I don't remember much of the movie. Drag Driver Luard Fanboy, how do you feel about the current state of D standard? I already went over it. I think it's maybe been a little bit too samey for now, but we'll see with set 6. What made you decide on your main clan? It grew over time. Like, at first, my main clan was Raging form, like Shadow Paladin. Then I quit, came back, it was Tavas. And then they kind of made Tavas very boring in my opinion, and it became Granblue. I've always liked graveyard kind of decks though. Like in Yu-Gi-Oh! Back in the day, I would play like Zombie Master, zombie types of decks. Also Dark Armed with Lightsworn types of stuff. Then in Magic, I play like Marin in EDH. That's also a graveyard deck. So it's pretty normal that I would like a graveyard deck. Xingping, have you ever tried Digimon TCG? I have not. Again, too many card games. Andrea, CEO of Beijing Corn. Is soup a drink or a food? It's a food. Nadif Time, why isn't there an online client like Arena and Master Duel yet? I see this one brought up a lot, and I think people don't realize how many resources you need to make a game and keep it running. Like, everyone thought when Master Duel dropped, like, whoa, look at this success. If Vanguard could do this, they should do it too. First of all, that amount of hype instantly died, as do all games. So now you need, after that 95% drop in players, do you still have enough players to generate enough money to keep the development going? Pretty important question. In terms of Yu-Gi-Oh, probably. In terms of Vanguard, I don't know. I also think that everyone thinks making programs is easy. Software development is not easy. And so the amount of money you would need for that, the amount of people you would need on staff, while it also potentially eating into your physical card game sales. I know people say, oh, people actually buy more cards, and that's also true, but there's also a section that will eat into your card game sales. All of that together actually makes the creation of a Vanguard online client much riskier than people give it credit for. Now, do I think they should? And would I love if they would? Yes, of course. Of course I want that. Who the fuck wouldn't? It's very naive to assume that this is like a no-brainer that they absolutely should do. It's obvious. Whoa, these people must be stupid because they're not doing it. Like, it's not that easy. Software development is expensive as fuck. I know because I run a software company. Like, it's not easy. So, I don't know. I wouldn't hold your breath. Would be cool though. I'd be a fan, but it's not as black and white as people think. Adrian Leong, since you have tried so many TCGs, out of curiosity, what part of TCGs in general appeals to you, and how did you get into TCGs as a whole? So first of all, I'm just a very competitive person. The thing is, that seeing patterns in TCGs is something I think I'm good at. Whereas reflexes, anything that requires me to be quick physically, I suck at. So like games, forget about it. Like League of Legends or Overwatch or all of these games, I'm just bad. I take too long. TCGs allow me to look at patterns and figure stuff out over a pretty long time, which means I can usually be pretty good at them. It's not the case for other games. And so if I'm a competitive person, obviously I'm going to prefer something where I can actually be competitive. So that's probably, the actual reason. I would love to go like, oh, it's because of the law for the cardboard and blah, blah, blah. And while that's what I think subconsciously it's because I'm able to be good at TCGs and I'm unable to be good at the games that require like reflexes. Now, I do believe almost anyone can learn anything, but I even remember as a child not being good at the reflex games and being very good at the puzzle game. My brother and I, we would sometimes play together and I would have to do all the puzzles and he would do everything that's quick. So yeah, I do think some things, I guess, are more hardwired. And for that reason, I like TCGs. The pattern recognition is something I enjoy, and the quick stuff isn't required. It's also why I don't like Yu-Gi-Oh! Competitively quite as much as Vanguard, because Yu-Gi-Oh! Requires you to make your play super, super fast to not go into time. So that's another issue. Cozy Overlord, when are you going to stop entering all the Springfests and give your boys a chance to win? I'm sorry. Hey, I didn't enter Hungary. I didn't enter Bilbao or Portugal. Yeah, that's it. We're gonna try in London, but I don't know. Card games, variance shit happens. We might not do well in London. I don't know. I'm pretty confident, but we'll see. Necro, how would you deal with the Gradora Stride used in Order Colony? I could make an Order Colony specific how to beat video if you want. Also, what do you think should be done about Stunverse with the Vowing Saber when it is released? I don't know. I haven't tested it yet. I have brought up a few times that I think Stunverse is not future-proof and should probably be banned sometime in the future. I don't know if Vowing Saber will be the straw that broke the camel's back or whatever you want to call it. It's possible, but I don't know if that will be the one. Finally, last question. Joseph, what are some cards out now in premium that you think should get banned? Ginny or Leslie? And then probably a choice restrict between Gradora and Ruination. And then probably over triggers as a whole. Yeah, that's it. Maybe there's more. Maybe Navigator. I don't know. The more I think about it, the more I think Navigator should go, and Night Runner should then also go, because you just don't want the endless easy mill. But yeah, that's a conversation for the future, I think. That was all the questions. This video uncut is 1 hour 22 minutes. Again, I'm not gonna edit it. I just have a program that will automatically cut out silences, and I think it'll be a video of 1 hour and 10 minutes, which is still insane. So I hope you found this very interesting. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you soon. Ciao.